Good evening. My name is Angie, and I'm honoured to share my story with you. If you had met me a few years ago, you would not have expected me to be standing here tonight. Not because I didn't have potential, but because my life was heading in a completely different direction. I grew up in a big family. I'm the second youngest of 8 kids, and the youngest of 6 girls. Yes, 6 girls. As you can imagine, life was loud and full. But even in the middle of all of that noise, something was missing. My dad left before I was 2 years old, and I never saw him again. It's hard to explain what that does to a little girl, what that did to me. Watching others being loved and protected by their dads, and all the while wondering why my father was not there for me. My mum remarried when I was 6 years old. Once again, our family dynamic shifted. Outside of my family, connection didn't come easily for me. Shyness was my constant companion through childhood. School was hard too. Learning seemed to come naturally for other kids, but for me it was a struggle. And when shyness, learning difficulties, and the ache of not belonging all sit together in one little girl, they don't just stay quiet. Their powers grow, and the real me was hard to find. When I was 14, my whole world shifted, not forever, but long enough to change me. My family decided to go on a mission trip to Thailand, and I remember the excitement buzzing through me as we boarded the plane. I had no idea what awaited me on the other side of that long flight, only that it would be different, and it was. We stepped into a place that felt nothing like home. New language, new smells, new rhythms, yet somehow it was there in all of that newness that I felt something I'd never felt before. I felt like I belonged. For the first time in my life, I was accepted exactly how I was. No trying, no performing, no shrinking myself to fit, just being me, and that was enough. What was meant to be a few short mission trips turned into something much bigger. We ended up moving to Thailand and spent 16 months working in a children's orphanage. Those months became some of the best months of my life. Friendship and laughter came easily. I felt free in a way I didn't know was possible. Free to be myself, free to grow, and free to feel seen. In a country that wasn't even my own, I found a place where my heart finally felt at home. But everything came to an abrupt halt. While we were still overseas, my sense of safety was shaken by someone I should have been able to trust. There were things I experienced during those months that should never have happened to anyone, let alone a teenager just trying to find her place in the world. Not long after we returned to Australia, Mum's marriage fell apart. Suddenly, the ground beneath us felt unstable. We came back with almost nothing, and life changed overnight. We bounced from place to place, trying to find somewhere to land. I was only 17. School ended early for me. I stepped into work because our family needed the income, and contributing financially became a part of how I tried to hold everything together. On the outside, it looked like I was coping, responsible, steady, doing what needed to be done, but on the inside, things were beginning to fray. During that time, I worked in childcare. I found myself drawn to the children who needed a little bit more attention, a little more gentleness. Looking back, I think I recognized something familiar in them, that quiet longing to be seen, to be cared for, and to belong. Those aren't small wants, they're human needs. But even as I poured care into others, I was slowly becoming undone. By 19, I had slipped into addiction. I wanted so badly to be accepted, to be truly seen by my friends, to feel like I mattered somewhere, but that longing came with a cost. The unraveling didn't happen in one dramatic moment. It was gradual, almost invisible at first. One choice, one compromise, one moment that became many. And it started with a few drinks, then cigarettes, then marijuana. More than anything, I wanted to be accepted by the people around me, but that acceptance came with a cost. I can still remember my 19th birthday with absolute clarity. That was the night cocaine entered my story. And the part that frightens me the most was that I liked it. Not because it was good, but for a moment, everything inside me went quiet. The sting of rejection faded. The weight I'd been carrying for years seemed to lift, or at least I thought it did. I told myself I was in control, but I wasn't. And that's the trap of addiction. It feels like freedom while it quietly takes you captive. Back then, I didn't know how to face the pain I carried, so I buried it. Every time life felt overwhelming, I pushed it further down instead of letting myself feel it. Survival mode became my norm. From 18 to 22, I lived in a constant state of emotional exhaustion. Depression grew heavier. I began mixing medication with drugs and alcohol. My life became disconnected, chaotic, and completely out of control. Over the course of a year, I attempted to end my life 8 times. I didn't really want to die. I just wanted the noise in my head to stop. I wasn't living. I was barely surviving. Then came a moment that pushed me deeper into addiction. I entered a romantic relationship with someone who introduced me to methamphetamine, and from there, everything spiraled. What followed was violence, fear, and a complete loss of control. I was manipulated, hurt, and used to get money for drugs. Physically, I was deteriorating. Emotionally, I was numb. Spiritually, I was completely lost. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized the person staring back at me, a shadow of who I was created to be, pale, thin, and completely broken. The hardest part to explain is that even in the manipulation and abuse, I believed I was loved. And that's what addiction does. It distorts everything. Your worth, your identity, even your understanding of love. And eventually, you begin believing the lies spoken over your life. The lie that I'm too far gone, that I'm too broken to change, that this is simply who you are now and who I am. My mum lived for years thinking every unknown phone call might be the one telling her I was dead. The calls came from hospitals, police station, and custody centres. Are you Debbie? We have your daughter here. The cycle kept repeating. The pressure was mounting. Then one moment changed everything. One day I was in a car with my boyfriend. He was driving and high. He pulled out a knife, and in that moment I knew if I stayed, he might really take my life. But for the first time in a long time, something inside me broke through the darkness. A small, steady voice I hadn't heard in years. I believe it was God, the same God I had known as a child, calling me out of the prison I had been living in. And in that moment, I knew if I stayed, my story would end there, so I ran. I hid for hours in an industrial bin, shaking, listening to my partner scream my name. I didn't know what would happen next. All I knew was that I had to get away. When it was dark, I found my way to a police station and asked to get help to get home. I called Mum, and this time the phone call was different. Mum, I need you. I need help. Not long after, I walked through the doors of Teen Challenge Queensland. My mum had taken me there a couple of years earlier, but I wasn't ready back then. This time I was. Not because I suddenly felt strong or brave, but because I knew I didn't want to die. And honestly, I was terrified. Terrified of my old life, terrified of being found, terrified of what might happen if I didn't change. But for the first time in a long time, I had taken a step towards hope. Teen Challenge became more than a rehabilitation centre. For me, it became a safe haven, a place where the chaos finally stopped long enough for me to breathe. They met me at the lowest point of my addiction, and for the first time in years, there was space to pause, to rest, to exist without fear. It wasn't easy. After living in constant turmoil, the structure and routine were confronting. Those first few months were some of the hardest. There was no running anymore, no numbing the pain with substances, just me face to face with everything I had been avoiding for so long. But slowly something began to shift. Death no longer felt like the only way out. A better life started to feel possible. I wanted to be with my family again. Joy, small and fragile at first, began to return. And somewhere deep inside, one truth rose to the surface. I wanted to live, like really live. Addiction, depression, and the relationships I was trapped in could have ended my story, but they didn't. Because grace found me right in the middle of that mess. Even when I had nothing left, even when I didn't value my own life, God never walked away. And people stepped in when I couldn't stand on my own. Through Teen Challenge, I finally had a safe place to heal, a place to begin unpacking years of pain I had buried so deeply that I barely knew was even there. The disappointment of my dad leaving, the loneliness, the rejection, the shame. Layer by layer, those wounds began to surface, and in that painful but necessary process, I discovered something I had never truly understood before: who I am and whose I am. For the first time, my identity began to rebuild healthily. I learned accountability, vulnerability, and discipline, and slowly I began to believe that my life had value. Healing wasn't something I could do alone, and it didn't come through one person or one moment. It came through our community. People who showed up in different ways at different times, each one helping me take another step towards wholeness. I want to tell you about some of the volunteers and workers from Teen Challenge who helped shape my healing. Every Thursday night, Jill came to the rehab. I'd give her a facial or paint her nails, something I loved doing. And in those small creative moments, I started to feel like myself again. Yes, those small, simple moments with her became a part of my recovery. Nolene brought the tough love I needed. She didn't let me hide. She taught me how to stand up and be strong. Nat helped quiet my mind, even when things inside felt too loud. Mal was peace to me, soft-spoken, kind, patient. She listened without rushing me through anything. And Amy gave me space to breathe, to step back, to see things clearly when life felt overwhelming. Some challenged me, some comforted me, some listened, and some simply stayed close. I'm grateful for every one of you. And Mum, you were a part of that healing too. You have loved me when it was hard, and you held on when most people would have let go. I love you, and thank you for loving me always. So what does my life look like today? Well, everything is different. I met Isaac, a good and safe man. My dream of becoming a mum came true. And now Isaac and I have two beautiful boys together, Jaira, who is 3, and Jakai, who is 10 months old. Isaac is a steady, reliable dad, and together we're building a future I once thought was impossible. I've even been back to Thailand with my little family, not as someone searching for belonging anymore, but as someone who has found it. I'm here today because Teen Challenge Queensland was there for me when I needed it most. When I first walked through those doors up in Toowoomba, I had no idea who made that place possible. I didn't know there were people like you who give so generously so people like me could find safety, freedom, and life. Teen Challenge Queensland exists because people like you believe change is possible. Tonight, someone else is standing where I once was. Maybe they too are running for their lives just as I was. They're scared, They're trapped and they're struggling to believe their life can look any different, but it can. They're caught in addiction and lies, convinced their final chapter has already been written, but it isn't. When you give to Teen Challenge tonight, you're not just supporting a program, you are giving someone the chance to rebuild, to heal, to rediscover who they were created to be. Tonight, your generosity doesn't just stay in this room, it opens the door to freedom. How do I know? Because someone did that for me. That is the impact of what you are a part of tonight. You are saving lives. And it reaches families, it reaches sons and daughters, it gives mums like mine hope again. It carries into the future generations. So I want to say thank you to every staff member who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself, to every person serving behind the scenes, to every donor, every business, every supporter. Finally, I want to leave you with this. My life isn't perfect, but where addiction once brought fear, shame, and brokenness, there is now beauty, there is family, there is purpose, there is hope. Because of Teen Challenge Queensland, grace met me when I didn't deserve it. Mercy found me when I had nothing left, and love gave hope room to rise again. All made possible because of you. Thank you.